a lot of seats up here. There's a lot of empty seats. Come help yourself. Don't be shy. We're all family. So yeah, take a seat, and I want to say welcome to this DNewTech. This is our 11th one. So November will be our anniversary for our first one. So I want to say thank you for all you guys participating. It really does help out. I think that we're all engaged with what's going on in Detroit, and I think that with us all networking, we can also probably participate in each other's effort in becoming the next great startup. With that, I also want to say, well, first give a big applause to our sponsors, because these are the guys and companies that are really helping us out. I want to give a word out to Blue Water Angels out in Midland, Michigan. They are a capital group. Their motto is Capital with Connections. We have Wisdom U, which is usually Maria's here, helping out. She's also, their motto is turn your idea into business, and you also get your business funded as well. Then we have the Detroit Economic Growth Corporation. And it's a big group out in downtown Detroit. They're power for a new economy. We got Quicken Loans, our other home when we're not here. Given those groups, Jack, Slinker, they really do help us out in regards to giving us a place at home. So, there might be a time that we'll be out there as well. We have Mentor Note, which is my company. It's an electronic record for psychiatry. We have Tex Ripple. Hans is not here. He's actually over in Grand Rapids. So I'm being told to slide over behind the podium. And so anyways, we're going to be using their voting system to kind of vote on best pitch tonight. We normally do that every night. We started that last week when Tex became one of our sponsors. And then TechTown. A huge applause to TechTown, giving us a host. And we're also, I think I can say probably a few of us are graduates of TechTown. I'm one of them. And normally we have, I can't remember my partner in crime. Who's normally doing the Milton. He's actually on the road right now. He's also a semi-finalist for the Acceleration Mission coming up on November 14th out in Ann Arbor. This is the second year. He won $25,000 last year for his company. So he's doing a lot of good things with that. So with that, I also wanted to let you guys know that we are going to be, doing probably our first anniversary DNewTech, probably during the entrepreneur, I think it's the Global Entrepreneur Week, which is starting November 14th. So I'll let you guys know that. So let me go ahead and get into it. I want to say thank you to Pavan here today. We have a very great speaker of ours for tonight. And as you know, our agenda is usually we have a guest speaker, who will be talking for about 15-20 minutes, and afterward you have 5 minutes to ask them with questions. And then afterward we start with our startup company entrepreneurs. Each of them will get 5 minutes to pitch and then 5 minutes for Q&A. So with that, I'm going to introduce you to Pavan. He's the managing director of Paris Capital and recently wrapped up a 2-year appointment as the entrepreneur in resident at Lawrence Tech University. He's also the CEO of MD Software Company. I also just quickly say that he is currently active as either a founding member or a financial advisor to companies in the financial services, healthcare, which is mine, manufacturing technology, and social media realm. He has coached award-winning companies in the GL2 business plan competition and a board member of the MIT Enterprise, which I know Milton is participating in as well. So I want to give great pleasure to introduce you to Pavan, and everyone can give him a little
Thanks, Han, for inviting me. It's actually really nice to be back at TechTown. I've been here several times, and it's actually great to see a room full of people. So.
We're going to pull up your slides, and as soon as I can get it here. The only problem is we don't have this remote working. TechTown ran out of batteries. They ran a budget. They couldn't buy batteries. All yours.
So am I supposed to stand here? I have to move around. Because you obviously want a team, but a team is part of that journey. But usually capital that you're bringing from the outside is not necessarily going to be part of the team. If it ends up being part of the team, that's great, but that's usually founder capital. So that's the first thing to keep in mind. So having said that, what is capital? Capital is nothing but an advance against the future profits of a company. And that's the key element that often gets forgotten, often gets kind of set aside in the excitement of either new markets, new opportunities, cool technology, what have you. But that's the most important thing. And if it's not capital against profits, it's something else, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But anything that needs to be invested in, if it's an investment, it has to be against something that gives back. And that brings me to the next piece of it, which is what are investors looking for? And this is also another key question, and I'll often not necessarily capture in documents. So the first thing is liquidity, which is the money back. And people won't necessarily mention this, but how many of you have heard of the term exit event? What do they drill, right? Business plan, you got to put this exit event in there. How are you going to exit? That's that liquidity. How am I going to get my money back? And then, of course, everybody knows that there's a growth and a return. So that's the other piece of it. And then the last thing people are looking for, investors look for low risk. As entrepreneurs, we're kind of all excited about the new company, you know, we're going to conquer the world. But when you ask someone to put money into your company, they're basically going to say, how are you going to lose my money? Before you grow it, what are you doing to keep it safe? And one of the first things that you can help address that in things like your business plan or whatever it is that you're presenting to investors, how are you going to use the money? Because it's in the how the money is used or allocation of capital that often that risk element gets answered very, very quickly. Simple thing. If you're going to spend a whole bunch of it on external services like marketing and labor and things like that, there's nothing to show on the balance sheet or in company assets. And so that's a very high risk investment. Most early stage startups, by definition, tend to be that. So what is risk? The possibility of losing money. There's all kinds of definitions in the financial world relative to volatility and this and that, but really when an investor is looking at risk, that's really what they're looking for, is how am I going to potentially lose money in this deal? And so, where does risk come from? Not knowing everything you need to know. And if you look at everything that is asked for in a business plan, that is to give the investor the insight into everything they need to know. So if you look at what your differentiators are, that's another insight into the market. If you look at the competitive analysis, that's another insight into the market that reduces their risk and gives them more knowledge. If you look at the market size, how many customers are potentially going to be buying this product, that is more information. So everything that is there in terms of keeping this discussion going with the investor has to address this piece of not knowing everything there is to know. Any questions so far? Because I'm going to go through these real fast and we're just going to talk. So question for you. This is not a trick question, but there's two options. And this is for everyone in the audience. Option A, I give you $10. Or option B, I flip a coin, and if it's heads, I give you $20, but if it's tails, you get nothing. Who chooses option A? A lot of option B people, right? Okay. No wrong answers. Absolutely no wrong answers. What if I change that to 10 million and 20 million? And who chooses option B? That could go risk 10 million. Anybody choosing option B now? You still choose choose option B. All right. So what if I raise it 100 million and 200 million? Still option B? All right. $1 billion and $2 billion. So you're just going to go for it. Okay.
You get $2 billion.
No. 1 billion or 20 billion. 1 billion or 2 billion. I'm just multiplying all the numbers. So it's 10 million.
Option A, you lose. Option A, you lose.
Option A, you get the money. And I just give you the money, you walk
Oh,
away.
you're giving it to me.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that's what I'm saying. Option A is guaranteed money. Now we're having some fun, right? So who goes with option B? Very few people, once it starts getting beyond a certain number, because you're already starting to think, well, that's the bird in the hand. You're going to go with option B.
Tell me about the coin.
It's just a regular coin. You give me the coin.
Oh,
And I check it first.
I control the coin?
But I check it first. No, we're going like way beyond, but this is just a simple psychological thing. The point is, at some point, everybody wants the guaranteed money, right? And basically what you're showing is that speculators like risk, but investors don't. And so we talked a lot, there's like 3 things that we talked about risk, but there's a lot of risk in early investing. Everybody knows that. But it's our job as entrepreneurs to figure out how we can minimize that risk to whatever information, plan, execution plan, milestones, whatever it is that we do, that is the fundamental thing. Because what this shows, and by the way, this is, again, something that's kind of understood. As returns go up, as gain goes up, the incremental pleasure of gain, I mean, you have $1 million, the next million's kind of cool, you have 10 million, the next 10 million is, when you lose $100, the next $100 is more painful, and the next 1,000 after that is even more painful. The pain rapidly goes up as you start losing money. Not as much as the pleasure goes up when you make money. And so, investors who are investing in early stage companies know this, or even if they don't know this, at some point they're going to feel this. Now, most investors that we go after, the angel investors or the venture capital. The venture capital guys are professional investors, completely different animal there. But angel investors are doing this because they don't mind that initial loss, or they're doing it for the excitement or whatever it is. And so, but at some point, it becomes too much. And as entrepreneurs, when we're taking someone's money, that's what we need to understand. And if we have this understanding, and we can mitigate risk by putting that information out in our materials, you have a much better chance of getting funding. Now, how do you reduce risk? By having a well-thought-out business plan, by having a well-thought-out spending plan for the capital, focusing on how you're going to get those profits. What do you need for profits? Sales. So the first thing is, how is that initial investment going to translate itself into profits? And if a business plan or whatever documents you have, however long it is, can capture that effectively, you've just made a big step in being able to get an investor's attention. Any questions so far? 1 billion, 2 billion? So the other question I get is valuation. Now, I don't expect anybody to comment. When I did this little thing, I was like, you can't expect people to know this. This is more of an illustration. This is considered a classic formula for valuation. Anybody here understand this? Good. Not too many, and it doesn't matter. So basically what this is saying is that the present value of any asset or any investment is the sum of the discounted cash flows, the future discounted cash flows. The problem is, when we're dealing with early stage companies, we don't know how many cash flows we're going to get, when they're going to start, what the appropriate discount rate, which captures that risk of the required return, is going to be. And the key thing to take out of here is early valuation is much more an art than it is a science. And the smarter investors will do more to figure out how to mitigate their risk than to chase the return. So the more information they can get to figure out how they're going to protect that investment relative to, is it 5x returns, or is it 6x returns, or 7x returns, we don't necessarily know, is going to be more compelling. So, and finally, the best capital is sales. There's nothing like getting the money yourself and being able to kind of sustainably grow the company. Bootstrapping actually really works well. It actually works surprisingly well in certain high-tech fields like software, where you have low capital needs, and all you need to kind of figure out is how you're going to do that initial ramping up of sales with some pilot customers and things like that. But highly capital-intensive companies, probably not that easy, because you need to have that. But whatever model you have, the important thing is how are we converting investments back into dollars. So this didn't take long. I said I gotta have something to fill this up, and we have a little wall out there that actually has one of my words of the wise. But this kind of captures some of the philosophies that you need to keep in mind. At least I find them very useful when you're dealing in this world of kind of financing and entrepreneurship and so on. So the first thing is, and it's actually out there, which is kind of surprising, anything you do, anything you want to do, if you think you can do it, or you think you can't do it, you're right. So it really is very, very internal. And that's the one thing I want to get out there. I mean, I've put up a bunch of slides here, and if you feel that there's something compelling that doesn't make sense here, follow that till you validate it not to be true. And that's when you stop believing it. But, you know, your personal belief in how something might happen, industries are different, customers are different. You know, there are certain things that are applicable in some industries that might be completely unacceptable in something else. If any insight you have in any particular industry or any particular domain is your knowledge that differentiates you from everybody else. And so I'm a strong believer in this, because what I know, it's very unlikely someone else knows exactly the same thing. And so you really have to go by how your own beliefs. This is a really good one. And the reason it's good is because we spend a lot of time in our business plans, doing 3-year and 5-year performance, and I mean basically it's just like juggling spreadsheets. I've done it too. Okay, it's just like, hey, let's see, maybe this looks a little bit better. That looks more like a hockey stick, you know? Yeah, the point is, sometimes we just don't know. If we have disruptive technologies, there's no way sometimes you're going to know what the adoption rate is going to be, whether it's going to be this super humongous exponential curve or it's just going to grow, you know. And that is why the important thing about this is, what do we know today that we can do to, again, mitigate risk and things like that? Because the more we have today in terms of conserving capital or whatever it is, we're getting that investor's comfort level, the more relaxed we can be about not necessarily being right about our predictions. So the other thing that that's also kind of that I didn't put here, it's a related kind of concept, is make small bets. Even when you get a large amount of capital, use small amounts of it to validate the bigger picture. So you're taking small risks, and the cost of a risk isn't that high. In fact, I may actually have a slide about that. This is actually another one that's really, really critical. Sales solves everything. And it is actually true in a lot of ways. You can have the messiest company, and if you have a lot of demand and you can generate a bunch of sales, you can usually bring some of the other resources to the table. Of course, you need that commitment to actually change the company. But if you don't have sales, it's very, very hard to do anything. And not having sales makes it very hard for a company to get capital. That's the one I was talking about. You've got to know when to hold them, know when to hold them. And that's basically just a kind of take small risks. If you find out that things aren't particularly going anywhere, you start throwing good money after bad, you might as well stop and see if you can refocus. Now, you have to balance this with how do you avoid being scattered. And that's where some long-term planning and some milestone-based validation in the business plan can really help. I've used this not only with myself, asking myself the same questions, but sometimes I've had entrepreneurs come to me and said, well, we have a business plan that calls for a $1.5 million capital raise. And my first question is, okay, well, assuming someone commits that amount of capital, what are you going to do with the first 150,000? And what are you going to learn from that first 150,000 so you still have some powder left in case something doesn't happen? When you start thinking in those terms, if you're a small company and you have a bet the company approach, it's a very risky approach. I don't know how many people heard, but Sprint is spending something like $30 billion buying the latest iPhones, 4S, I think is the new one, right? That's pretty risky. If you look at the amount of money Sprint has and they're not being able to generate a bunch of traction, there's a lot of analysts out there that are basically saying that's a very risky move. That's a risky commitment. By the way, they aren't going to start getting paid for those till 2014. Good.
What I was thinking when you said that is they may be doing that thinking that if they can't sell those phones, Apple will have such an investment that they might bail them out.
That's a pretty risky thing to expect. I mean, Apple's in it for the money. I don't know how many things Apple discounts, but And by the way, that's what makes them a great company. That Apple's never done anything to be a charity. This is for the cat lovers in the group. I love cats. So this is truly the truth. If you run your business and you start generating value, the capital will come. Because if you don't have time to chase capital, that means you're doing something right. You're having fun. There's other pieces of it. Don't have time, have fun running your company, all that good stuff. But this is true because I've actually heard of situations where successful companies get calls from potential investors saying, hey, you guys need some growth capital, how are you guys, and it's really nice to be in that seat where you can actually say, well, I don't know, what are your terms, let's have lunch next week. It's a different conversation. Anytime you're on the other side and you're kind of, defensive, it's always hard. So, I don't know how we're doing on time, but
We got another minute if you want. We got a minute.
so, got another minute. We got a question.
We can start the quick Q&A right now, guys.
I'm done, so yeah. Yeah.
In regards to you talking about the sales part, in regards to your projection, how critical does one investor look at in the first 3 years, first 3 years? They also ask for a year, first 12 months, and then something is point per month, and then they start looking yearly. I know some projection, but what does an investor do?
Well, I think you'll get different answers for every investor that you talk to because there isn't any, Some investors are very particular about projections. Others are more interested in the big picture story. But here's the thing, right? Anytime you have something that is in the immediate future, you're going to know more than something about 24 months down the road. And sales is not like the weather where I can say, in December of 2014 is most likely to be cold. Most likely going to be what? Unless global warming completely does its job, we'll probably all be dead anyway, so it doesn't matter. So, but sales is not like that, right? So how you define, the momentum you generate in the first year is going to define how the performance is going to be in the second year. So you definitely need to have some notion, but it has to be defensible. It has to be something you just put in some numbers and some growth factor in the spreadsheet. You have to be able to back up. Let's say you're doing enterprise sales, and you know that it takes a certain amount of time to do a sales, the sales cycle, right? And then you have a head count that says, well, how many salespeople do I have on staff by that time? Some metrics that just are extremely effective.
I mean less like at the risk of like looking like you're being too aggressive, but for example, like you have a really aggressive sales forecast 3 years out and you don't hit it because you were intentionally very aggressive with it. How does that look to an
So
investor
here's the
versus
thing,
being
right?
too conservative?
Because you were intentionally aggressive. So anything you do intentionally, which is not what you believed in the first place.
Well, intentionally or not, I mean, if it was an aggressive forecast, I mean, in terms of like how, I guess, angry investors are with you not hitting those
So
milestones.
here's the thing, if it's something you believe in, it's not aggressive. If it's something that you feel is the right way, I mean, take a look at Facebook, right? They've got their growth chart on their website. And if you have something that you can model based on some numbers that go by those, by them being an example, I'm not saying that, it might be 100% exactly like that. That's an exponential growth model. And they've been doing some amazing numbers. Now, they're reaching the saturation point to somewhat, because they have like 700 million users or something, and our population is 6 billion. And not many people beyond like 1.23 billion use the internet. So they're saturating to a really high percentage of internet users. But, so if you believe in it, if you have some fundamental knowledge or insight into customer behavior that you can say, that's why I'm defending those figures. It's not aggressive anymore. It's insightful. And that can get an investor excited. But at the same time, on the downside, so that's your upside, right? So the upside potential is all fine and dandy, but what are you doing on the downside to protect their investment is also the important question that you have to ask.
Right, so how much do things really change within an organization once you take on that first round of capital versus before that?
So a lot of it depends upon who you take it from and what the relationship is. So there's different types of investors. You have the angel investors who might be doing it for a certain reason. Some of it might be personal. They just like the space. And they might get a little bit more involved in the company, the operating side, but they might not get involved so much in the governance, who's on the board, and so on. But pretty much by the time you start taking institutional money or venture capital, that kind of thing, you're starting to look at some very specific guidelines on what they expect. Very often, founders have this gripe that the VC would come in and say, we want a professional CEO to take this from here. And, depending upon your personality and whether you should be the right person, it might be the right thing to do, who knows. But by the time you get institutional money, it's going to be pretty different, and it's going to start looking different. But it might start with there's very sophisticated angels that might have a very set idea of how they want the company to run. And those are the discussions you need to have when you talk. That's why the first question, do I want partners? Because when you start getting someone else's money, there's an obligation. It's not just financial, but there's also how you come across.
We got time for one more question.
At what point in your search for funding, whether it's friends or family, angel or VCs, do you work with an attorney to develop the private placement materials so that you can be more successful in approaching those groups?
So you should work with an attorney right from the beginning, even when you're working with friends and family, because friends and family is one of those things where the objective of investing most of the time is to support rather than get an expected return. They're doing it because they want you to succeed. But what happens often is we kind of lose sight of that, and there's more than one instance of where you take some money from someone who can't afford to lose it. A lot of the early stage investments very early on are speculation more than anything else. So there's a very good chance that the money's going to go. So you got to be real careful. The other thing is also, if you start with friends and family and you have an expectation that you're going to go down this path with institutional or professional investors coming down, you've got to make sure that they get protected, because often the early investors essentially don't, if they don't have the staying power, it's very possible that their rights and needs aren't necessarily going to be that important. So it's always good. I mean, you're dealing with taking money. It's always good to have things in writing.
You have to be careful too if you're taking investors from other states or So,
There's all kinds of things, and that's why you need to have a good attorney who kind of guide you through that whole process. Now, relative to the private placement memorandum, that's something that when you're talking to an investor, you're going to kind of decide, sometimes an investor's just going to give you a term sheet and they might just invest, there's no PPM really involved, so the conversations can go in many different ways.
Okay. Pavan, you gonna stick around just a little bit? I know you guys.
But I'll stick with it.
Yeah, okay. And then, so if you guys have questions, hopefully they'll be around to ask questions further. Thanks, Pavan. Okay, so let me go ahead and get started with the first presenter. And, the people in the back, you don't have to guard the pizza, it's all gone now. So you guys can all sit down. There's a bunch of seats around here. So we'll go ahead and get started. The first company is called Fetch Note, and there's actually, I think I was told there's two presenters, and I only got bio from one person. So your co-partner is going to have to present themselves. So basically, I got Chase here, and this is Chase, and that's Alex, right? Got it? Okay, so Chase is basically a student was a student for law school of business, and he's going to do business informatics, and he's a hacker, so I better touch it. I don't know you guys touch it. You guys touch it? Yeah, I got it. Actually, no. That's why you have both of you. No. You got the 5 minutes, and go ahead.
Hey guys, I'm Alex Schiff, and I guess my bio is
Give me the pitch with the
business
office.
student, junior, and I guess right here the bio on Chase, and we're from Fetch Notes. So before we say, what we're doing, I want to talk about the problem that we're solving, and that's how to capture, organize, and manage information. And that's anything from tasks, ideas, things that you want to remember to check out later, all these things that are floating around in your brain that you need to get down somewhere and into your workflow to take care of later. And so there's no shortage of ways that we solve that now. I'm using notebooks. I used to text things to myself all the time. And there's no shortage of applications that try to solve this problem.
Yeah, and so, there's so many solutions out there. It's started to wonder, why doesn't any of this stuff actually work? It seems like someone would have gotten this right. Over and over, we're hearing from people that they're still looking for solutions. Why doesn't this stuff work? Well, first of all, a lot of things don't give you a great, easy way to stay organized. Things get cluttered, things get messed up, and it ends up looking a lot like that. Next, you have your email inbox. Is that really the best place to stick everything you remember? No, it gets buried amongst tons of other things. Same with text messages and traditional notepad applications. There's no good easy way to get things out of those current places. They just sit there, stagnant. And then a lot of the other current solutions out there right now are just too heavy, they're too clunky. This application, it takes literally 12 steps to add a tag to a note so you can find it later, which seems pretty bad for 2020. And so we have a couple different ways we wanted to solve all the different pain points out there. First of all, we want it to be everywhere, because when you remember something, you need to jot something down. You can't be like looking all over the place and saying, oh, I need to get an internet connection, I need to go do this, I need to do that. You just need to be able to get it down right away. I mean, that's why we've been using regular notepads and pencils for so long. They're right there. But now we know all this cool technology, so why not use that? So, we're going to be on your desktop, we're going to be on the web, mobile phones, anything feature phones, so you can text or call in your notes. The next thing was we wanted to keep things really simple. There's no reason that jotting down a quick, simple note needs to take 12 steps to do what you need to do. And so you'll see here, you can start jotting down a note, and this hierarchical organization is actually generated for you on the fly. And it feels hierarchical, but it's actually associated. So you can have, the breadth of a regular file system you get on your computer. I know probably some of you spend a lot of time dragging and dropping things in little spots. I used to do that too. But this all gets generated for you on the fly just by adding a tag. And now instead of 12 steps to add a tag, it takes 1. So you can stay organized a lot easier. Next, we wanted this to be really useful. Anyone can build an application where you can just throw some text up in the cloud and be able to pick it up anywhere. I mean, that's not that hard. There's so many things out there that you can get that do that. We actually want to do things like providing them an ad tag. So if I'm in a study group, I can type in this note, and if I in my group, this note actually goes out to all of them and goes on their chemistry and to-do lists so that they can stay organized with me. And in addition to that, we want to give you all kinds of functionality so that you can say, you know, if I have a tag with bugs, I want that thing to get forwarded and synced with the bugs in my bug tracker. And you know, if you're using another note service, like Evernote, for example, you know, if it takes 12 steps to do something you want to do in Evernote, you can do it with one in ours. We'll let you do that. You can sync with Evernote. So we want to give you all of these avenues to basically get your notes out of one location and get it to where it needs to be.
So just a quick look at the note-taking market solutions out there right now. The leader is Evernote. They have over 12 million users as of August. The other one is Catchnotes, and they have, I couldn't find an active user number, but they sure have a lot of downloads. SpringPad is kind of third place with over 1 million users. And then finally SimpleNote, which has a little bit over 135,000 as of last year. But what I really want to get at is this is a big market. There's a lot of people that are using these types of devices. And only 21% of the people that we surveyed recently call themselves loyal users. So no one's really happy with what they're using. And so next I just want to touch on our revenue model briefly. It's a freemium model, and basically we give away the apps for free. The mobile apps are going to have ads in them, but that's not going to be our primary source of revenue. We have a subscription plan that has some of the features like texting in your notes, workers, things of that nature that are designed to get you rather than dragging you into converting like a lot of other applications.
All right, and so lastly, we'd really like you all guys to sign up. So we made a little link for you on FetchNotes. We're in closed beta right now, but if you go to that link, exactly that link, then we will we'll be able to get you signed up. So we'd love for you to go try it out.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys. Give it up for first one. So this is what you got, go ahead, drill with questions.
You don't do this when you cook this away.
But you know, I think that's probably yeah.
How many people do you have working right now on development and as far as all of the?
We have 9 people, so us 2 co-founders and then 7 people that are doing 5 developers, 1 designer developer hybrid, and 1 just sole designer.
You're all right.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. We just to follow. We work out of the Tech Art. It's a student accelerator.
I'm just totally, I'm always fascinated because that when I started that, how come so many programmers?
So many programmers. So Alice isn't a programmer, and we have designers on the programmer, so that leaves 7 programmers. So I do all the web stuff, and then we've got one person who does desktop and Android, and then we have 2 other just Android, and then we have 3 people on iPhone. And a lot of this, honestly, I mean, we're working with students, everyone's pretty busy. And you know, none of us are doing this as a full-time job, and so we need to kind of distribute the work. And I mean, 3 people to make a nice mobile app isn't too crazy. So.
No, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
What's your beachhead market?
I'm sorry, what?
What's your beachhead market? The first market you're going to try to penetrate who?
So a big chunk of our early adopters, and by no means is it all of them, but this is where we've gotten a lot of initial traction, is with people who call it getting things done system. And that's, I kind of describe it as like the productivity version of Chicken Soup for the Soul. It's like a system that helps you, get better at staying organized and getting things done. And so a lot of the people that signed up for a beta that follow us on Twitter are subscribers to that system. So that's where we've seen a lot of initial traction. But definitely also students, people that are in business, a lot of entrepreneurs as well, a lot of people who are into startups and obviously have a lot of ideas that they're writing down. That's actually like where this kind of generated from. Was like, I had no way to like that I enjoy writing down ideas.
So all this information is going to be hosted and indexed on cloud?
Yeah.
Can you talk about the technology they're using? Computers?
What's that? Yeah, we use computers sometimes.
Sometimes we have people use the computers.
And yeah, no. So, what do you mean, like the?
Like what kind of cloud service you use, or?
Okay. Yeah. So.
You don't want to.
Yeah. No, it's fine. It's all actually on the web places. Yeah. So our servers run on Linode. This company gives us servers. They provide a similar service to like Amazon Web Services, stuff like that. And in terms of actual like stack of technology, we have Tornado. It's a web framework that actually Facebook open sourced. They acquired FriendFeed. FriendFeed started that framework. And it's meant to be very performant. It's meant to scale really well, handle lots of connections at the same time. And so Facebook open sourced that. And that's written in Python, programming language. For database side, instead of going with like SQL or something like that, we went with MongoDB. It's what they call a document-based database. So if we're doing notes, I mean, the analogy is perfect, but you can just know the document-based database work great for notes. And actually, it's what Catch actually uses that as well. We found out, and we do all the standard stuff on the front end. HTML, CSS, JavaScript, use jQuery, all those sorts of things. On the mobile apps, we just do vanilla Android. On iPhone, we actually use something called PhoneGap, which is pretty interesting. The issue with getting iPhone developers to work for you is that not everybody owns a Mac, and Apple wants you to own a Mac to develop for iPhone. And PhoneGap, and the other thing is not everyone knows Objective-C, which is the language they require. Yeah, and so PhoneGap actually lets you use web languages, web technologies to roll an iPhone app. And so it was easier to get developed for. We didn't have to buy any more MacBooks. That's why we chose that. And that about covers it.
What about what you guys do now? Looking for funding capital? You guys?
So we've been bootstrapping up until now. We're definitely going to try to continue to bootstrap. As for what our next steps are, is really just rolling this out to the max number of people possible. We're ready for our beta list. We have, last check, 1,130 people that signed up for our beta list. We're doing a lot of marketing campaigning over the summer. When you're a technical co-founder, what else do you have to do, right? And so, so we did a really good job there. And so far, we have a little over 100 invites sent out, and I don't know how many, so a good percentage of them. We just sent out like our first big push of invites over the weekend because we just got the text messaging integrated with so we can text through the shows up on the web app. That was like what made it really compelling.
Good job, guys. Good job. I mean, when you're a student and you can spend most of your time, you know you're gonna get a degree, and now doing this, knowing that might not, it's a risk. You got the best of both worlds, man. I mean, that's awesome. That's cool. All right, Roger, do you need
one more?
One
then,
more.
Then
The
change.
next one, Oliver. Do you have Oliver? Great. So Oliver is I would say he's an old-timer here. He's well known. His business is clean emissions, and he's over in Next Energy. And I tell you, he's definitely someone that I definitely look up to in regards to my business plan when I was writing, because he was one of the people that actually spoke into some of my classes. So with that, can I put you pressure? With that, let me get your presentation up. Here we go.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Tom. My name again is Oliver Bear.
If you can't see light, you're in the wrong place. There you go.
And I'm with a company called Clean Emission Fluids. We're in the biofuel space, and we're in the clean fleet space. I co-founded the company in 2007. Fleets today are faced with having to deal with a multitude of different fuels, and they also need new emission fluids to comply with the new emissions. It's a challenge to handle these new fluids, to store it, and to get the optimal blend. The two challenges, again, are fuel that goes in the fuel tank, biofuels of different kind, different blends, and also in the emission fluids, which are new in 2010, you need to have new fluids wherever fuel is dispensed. We have a solution which is called FAST. It's a truck stop in a box. You deliver it, it's in sizes from 55 gallons up to 40 feet and 10,000 gallons. It delivers all the fuels, fluids, emission fluids, biofuels that a fleet would need for their trucks. We have our first station running at Next Energy across the street, which Tom had mentioned, thank you. We have mine as a customer, and we've delivered these stations to them. They go to the fuel island. They are so high-tech They saved Meyer money, for example. They came back to us 2 months later, unsolicited, and said, we'd like to give you a purchase order to buy all the fluids for you for the next 2 years. If you just take care of the stations and manage the fuel for us. It's called vendor managed inventory. That about floored us when we got that call. Well, we've been doing this for 2 years now. We've been improving out our model, building our stations, improving this design. And what does it do? It blends any fuel type for any vehicle sequentially as they come up. So one truck, an old truck, might get a high percentage of biofuel. Diesel prices are hovering about $3.80 a gallon. Biofuel prices are going to come down. Let's say it's $3 a gallon. Well, if you do a 50% blend, you're saving half of that. If you got a brand new truck, you can't put a high blend in, so you have to use a lesser blend. The ability to blend on demand for every single truck right at the pump helps companies save money. This is a photo of our station at Meyer, at their facility in Lansing. As I said, our company is revenue producing. We have customers, we're raising money, and we have a residual income stream which helps us support debt. So questions over how is the investment return, which our speaker said earlier on. We make money from selling the equipment, and we make money ongoing from selling the fluids. Our margins range from 10 cents a gallon all the way on up to over $1 a gallon. This is a very large market that we're dealing with here. This chart is simply to show that it's growing at over 500% a year. There's 43 billion gallons of diesel fuel consumed in this country annually. Biofuels are forecast to, at a very small percentage, be at 1 billion gallons next year. That number is going to go up and up and up as there are more economic incentives to use biofuels. The emission fluids, again, a $1.3 billion space. The equipment side, for our stations alone, there are 17,000 places immediately in our beachhead market where you can sell these stations to, and that's the private fleet operators that don't currently have fuel on site. There is competition. There's European entrants. They only do one thing. They do the emission fluids. Then there's traditional fuel companies like Dresser-Wade and Gilbarco. They have some form of blending, but how we track everything, bring it together, and allow the customer to access the information to continually optimize their fuel spend, that is unique, and we're the only company in the world that is integrating this all together in one solution. This is a team that's going to take this to a $43 million per year company in about 5 years. We have over 100 years experience in the industry, a lot of people involved. We've used a lot of resources like shifting gears with Larry over here, who worked for our company for almost a week, I think, and he sees the team that we have that can really help manufacture these stations and take them to market. We're seeking $3 million. We've already got commitments for seed funding, $350,000. We're raising another $600,000, which we have commitments for in seed funding that we're matching with Michigan Pre-Seed. And we are seeking $3 million to take this opportunity nationally and then globally. Right now we're concentrating in Michigan, we're concentrating in Detroit. That'll expand to the Midwest next year, and that'll expand beyond that to the nation. Our projections have us settling at over $737,000 this year, and that's selling 12 units, 12 stations. We currently have 7 booked. We will sell almost 70 stations next year. Our stations range in price from $20,000 to over $100,000. And each of those, like I said, has a residual income component. That'll result in, as I said, in 2015, we'll hit a fuel gallonage of over 30 million gallons just based on that, and 700 stations a year, which are all built in Detroit. Let's recap here. We're solving a renewable energy challenge, and that's how do you cost effectively utilize biofuels, which are being mandated. We're incentivizing that by lowering the fuel price at the pump. We are proven, we have customers, we're revenue producing, and we're out of time, I think.
Give it up to Oliver. Anyone has questions? Go ahead.
Can I walk around?
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
Yes.
Right, so when Meyer came to you, and he said that they wanted to sell them the fuel and man stations, that wasn't really the plan, that was going forward.
Let's just say it was part of the plan.
Can you repeat the question?
The question was, Did we expect Meyer to come back to us and give us a purchase order for the fuels and fluids? No, we did not. It was part of our plan, but not with our alpha customer, Meyer, in 2 months of using our station, coming back to us and saying, here's a PO for the fuel. Yes.
That was the cap.
Yes, sir.
So, did I hear you say you started in '07?
Yeah.
And then I saw anything, you have 2 employees in '11, so you spent the last 4 years just developing this piece of equipment?
We bootstrapped it initially. We pulled retirement out, we put it into building our first station, and we proved out the design. I designed it between the Christmas and the New Year's. We built it in January, installed it in February. I'm an electrical engineer in a previous life, so we were able to do it pretty quickly. But then there was a long gap in how you take that capital equipment, it's put together with off-the-shelf equipment, and now commercialize it and make it ready for production. That's a big challenge. You deal with an $80,000 piece of equipment, our margins are well over 50% of that, but that's still $40,000. Where do you pull all the money together to start building these stations? And you don't want to waste $20,000 in a tank here, because then what do? Then you're out of money if you make a mistake. So it's a very careful balancing act to scale up production. And I'm a manufacturing engineer, worked in a previous life in the auto industry. We're trying to pull as much cost out of this as possible, pull labor out of build, and be able to build 600 to 700 out of one facility per year. That's a challenge. Yes, ma'am.
You're building these at Hook.
Yes, we are. We're using a program that they have called Burn and Learn, because an investor will say, okay, 700 units a year sounds great. How are you going to build it? You're 11 people. Focus Hope has a program. As we scale up, they train workers. We are able to contract Focus Hope, not manage individual workers. They take care of production for us. In that facility, they have space. We have a 60,000 square foot building that we can grow into, which is ideal for a company like ours. We were at TechTown. We were at Next Energy. We outgrew TechTown because our stations are so large. We needed a grassroots manufacturing center. Detroit's got a lot of them, but Focus Hope has labor to connect to. Yes, sir.
So what are your challenges that you're facing?
People and money. That's it.
All right. So then, another question, since that was answered, so.
That's everybody's problem, right?
Right. How can you, are you willing to dive into how you conceive the idea?
It's, the 30-second version is, we became knowledgeable on the new emission standards, needing a new fluid which wasn't currently on the market. And we thought, as an entrepreneur previously, there's a way to make money at that. So we looked at, how do you dispense it, where does it have to go, what's the market, we took our MBA skills and started doing some business plan development. We realized that a distributorship, just simply reselling a fluid, that's not something you can take to an investor and say, would you invest in me to resell something? There's no brand value in that unless you really build a lot of volume. So we put our heads together, engineering heads, and we built a station. And we said, you know what? This is a high-tech station. We've got the patent pending on it. It does blending, it does tracking, it lowers fuel price, it does all kinds of great things that truck fleets need. And we said, okay, let's build that, then let's seek some investment. Let's go to the back. Yes, sir.
So do truck fleets actually have a register with you? Do they register their trucks with you and they have everything digitally already in the stations? When they pull up, they just put in their truck number and knows exactly what to do, or how does that work?
Ideally, that's the way it should work, and it does for most of our customers, but we don't want to refuse a sale to somebody who says, you know what, I don't need this fancy database system on the back end. Here's my credit card or my fleet card. I'm going to swipe it and get 200 gallons of diesel and biodiesel at this particular blend. We'll still track that. We'll know who it goes to, but they won't be part of what we call our iFast program that tracks all the information, and it has a recommended blended choice. So next time you come back, our goal is to save the customer money and sell a lot of fuel. We can say, you know what? Today the temperature is going up and the cost of this biofuel in this local market is going down. Why don't you use more of that for your truck? Because you don't have a warranty limit. We're going to suggest this to you and show you how much you can save per gallon. You're going to save 10 cents a gallon by getting this fuel, which you know works because you bought it from us before, or you can take a chance and just get what you want. We think customers want to save money. We'll sell more higher margin fuels that way.
One more question.
All right.
Yes.
Can you look at the financials for a second?
Absolutely.
So it looks like you're going to be making money by year 2. So where's all the investment that you're looking, is that just going on down on the balance sheet as capital equipment, the 1.3 million that you're trying to raise?
That's an operating capital play, we think. The investment, use of funds like that in this presentation here, which shows where the funds go, and it's into sales and marketing, it's in the partner development. How do we sell stations in Texas? We need a partner there to reach the market in Texas, the small to medium-sized fleet operators, and then it's getting the word out there, and it's supporting from a sales standpoint, distributed reps, internal reps. We plan to hire 5 salespeople next year to support a national rollout, focusing initially in Michigan, and then rolling out from there.
So you're going to start returning that by year 2 then?
Yes,
That's
we'll
your
break
thought?
even at the end of year 2.
So you're then breaking it up into equity and debt?
Yes, we expect to have a debt equity split there, yes. And the nice part about the model is the residual income helps to support debt. So an investor might say, what if you don't sell in next year, you don't sell 69 stations? And what if you sell 59? We're not going to hit our revenue margin, but there's still confidence because every station has a residual revenue component from fuel and fluid sales.
So basically it's that cost increase that you're seeing from year 1 to year 2 that you want to finance?
Yes. And then a portion of that, the SG&A will live off of that margin. That would be ideal. Yes, good question. Thank you, Todd. Thank you, everybody.
We'll take a break, you guys. So Raji needs to refill, but we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Just kind of quickly close in. Because yes, you guys might know we're streaming live, so look at the camera.
How you doing?
You guys, we're ready.
We live that space all the time. It's a challenge for the place to say, contract bio. They want to try to report. They had rough trucks. It wasn't working right. It was spoiling in the tanks. It was turning to sludge. They had quality issues. We mitigated that. Not just generation of biodiesel, but generations of biodiesel. It actually has better cold flow properties than diesel fuel. Made from such crops as green mustard seed and pennygrass, or renewable diesel. Different kind of products. That's got to work for everybody.
Did you want to check your
Nice speaking at LHUM next week.
How is it?
Get out of the way of the camera.
I guess people really want to take a break, huh?
Yeah.
It takes me 30 seconds to change dates.
How you doing, man?
Good.
Good to see you.
Link says we'll try to buy
Refreshing. It's the first time I see you gotta go there next
They
week.
might be aggressive and say we're going to
Everybody wants to know their product. You just think about it. Hey, I meant my product. Brand there. Are you an investor?
No, I'm my own company. I've been through all this many times. Raising money for
There's a guy out on the Telegraph called Muzumdar. And Amherst Park, yes. They're the only ones that actually gets close and paid any money. Like great product. Okay. Now what? Great.
So you got to stay talking and Dan.
Nice meeting you, man.
I just want to also say that when I saw Pavan's quote, the fifth one, it was by John Schultz about you got no one to hold him. I think that's pretty righteous, man. I know.
guy just sang the song.
He wrote the song.
Don Schlitz is the guy who wrote the song.
It's Kenny Rogers. It's Kenny Rogers. Okay, here we go. We got
I
Clark.
researched that too.
We got Clark October. He's a Smart Start, right? Smart Start. So what is the around here? So we'll hope. I'm sorry, I thought someone said something.
Yeah,
Clark is
he's in Thrive.
He's in Thrive. Oh, yeah, that's Smart Start. I went through Smart Start, so I just went through it. He's the CEO of Rebroadcast, and I'm going to let him tell you about his business. But I'll just tell you he's also one of the founding these companies for the web application for Chrysler Corporation, and also president of Rudd Industrial Supply Incorporated, which is a janitorial supply. So he's definitely got some business experience. I mean, I think that's always a plus. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Clark.
Well, I've never pitched before, so I'm a little nervous, so please bear with me. But my company is, my name is Clark October, and my company is Regango. Regango.com is a daily deal website that offers savings up to 70% for home products and services. Our target market is women ages 25 to 55, and there's a couple delivery methods that we use to get these coupons to our consumers. One would be daily emails, and the other one, our coupons are browsable directly on our website. Some of the industry problems right now is that it's completely unfocused. Our competitors are focused on lifestyle products, nails, tanning salons. It's not really narrowed down at all. There's actually no easy way to currently buy deals for the home. It's just a jumbled mess out there right now, and customer service is failing at all levels. Customers and merchants aren't happy with the service levels that they're getting, and so we solve those problems in a few different ways. There's no customer engagement through the merchants and our customers, so we solve that as well. One of our solutions is the Regango Planner. I need to tell myself to breathe here. Please bear with me. I'm very sorry. The Regango Planner is actually for our registered users, and they can go out and they can plan deals. They can select what deals they want, whether that's a roof or a kitchen remod, and we actually email them up to 3 months in advance as to when that particular deal is coming out. We also have a business directory that's unlike any other business directory out there, because we have integrated real-time chat, video, and as well as instant messenger. I can't get into the other because I don't have enough time. Our merchant solutions, companies right now can only go out and offer one daily deal at a time. With us, they can offer multiple. We offer multiple campaigns for them. And we also show demographics, where our users are coming from and exactly how they're buying, so that when all these demographics are in real time, so that they can do other advertising campaigns and make some money. Right now, the daily deal market is a $3 billion plus market right now, and the home products and services is actually a $300 billion industry as we know it. 22% of all online users, and this is all across the U.S. So 22% of online consumers use daily deal sites. Those are staggering numbers, and we're trying to sandwich ourselves right in the middle of all this. So our business model, we actually take 40% of total coupon transactions, and we actually charge on top of that for going into our directory, a merchant becoming a member of our directory. So that's it. And when I was practicing this, I was over 5, so. Okay, I'm a computer dork, sorry.
Okay, questions, anybody?
Sure, so like, can you, for instance, of like what are home products and services?
Sure, well, we mostly wanna focus on the repairs, usually under $400. We think that's gonna be our bread and butter. But as far as anything you can ever imagine from your home, from painting to landscaping to roofing to kitchen remods, whatever, anything you need for your house, we've got it, but we really wanna focus on the repair market.
Are you guys up right now and running?
Actually, we have invested from friends and family to the tune of about $10,000. Our prototype is actually going to be out hopefully at the end of the month. We've been talking to merchants and we've got a lot of traction from merchants. So it's going fairly well right now. But our prototype is very, very simple. We're offering about 4 different coupons, and then we use social, it's social gaming, but it's actually, if you invite three friends, then you unlock about 10 more coupons. So that's how we're going to try and get traction in the very beginning, and we'll see where it goes. Go ahead.
So is it just services, or is it also like products as well? Like if I need to go buy paint, or is it only?
It's products as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
How are you managing the services that have to be bid on? In other words, is it a coupon for a percentage off? Because a lot of jobs in home.
These are only quotable services right now. So when we launch, we're sticking to the small, like I said, the smaller end of things. You know, kitchen remods, roofs. That's dependent on the square footage, et cetera, et cetera. Every home is different, as you know. So it's more like the repair. Does that answer your question? Kind of.
A fixed, but like you have prices for like toilets, sinks. I mean, is that, how are you?
That's vendor specific, so we have to work those prices out with the vendors, our merchants.
Yeah, you went through that pretty fast, so.
I know I did.
You know, let's.
I can back up the sliders.
Just to help me out a bit here, just, let's say I'm a customer. Walk me through that revenue cycle. How do you make money and what am I getting? What service?
Sure.
Just walk me through that. I want to get in there, I'm a customer.
Okay, sure. So you see a coupon for a long-term service, okay?
Where do I see that?
On my website, rebroadcast.com, or if you're a registered user, that will come to your inbox daily. Okay? So we take 40%. You basically pay us. It's no upfront marketing cost for the merchant. Okay? So you basically pay us, and then we give the merchant back 60% of the total revenue. So
I'm a customer.
correct.
Go ahead.
So so if this long-term job costs you $10, you pay me $10. You get a voucher. Okay? There's a number at the top that you call. You say, I'd like my lawn cut. I was just at Regango, and you'll schedule. Okay?
I mean, and well, what's the vendor getting in terms of you're actually going to be? This is a value that they're offering, right?
Sure.
So they're already is $6 there? Is that a discount?
We're guaranteeing our merchants customers. We're saying in order for this deal to actually be active, I'm sure you guys have heard of Groupon or Living Social. It's the same business model. So we're saying, hey, we're going to give you 25 customers up front, and that deal doesn't get activated until those deals are paid, until that deal is actually paid. So it's like you're guaranteeing your business customers without them having to do any marketing.
Approximately after you take your cut, what is their total discount? In other words, if they had just gone to a customer for a $10 on job,
sure,
what would they have charged? I'm assuming it'd be more than $10. That you're attracting the customer for the $10.
Right.
So what's their total discount that they're offering?
It's upwards of 60 to 70% on their end. So it's huge.
But then aren't they getting another 40% cut from you?
Right, I factored that 40%. So it's roughly right around there.
Yeah.
But you know, that's merchant dependent as well, you know?
Yeah, that's good. Two
So
more
services
talks.
like landscaping and painting are geographically based, or are you launching that area?
We're actually launching in the Metro Detroit area, and hopefully we can expand on that. We're actually, in our first year, we want to
I'll call you.
expand out in 4 different markets, just in the Michigan area.
So do you know what your customer acquisition costs would be to acquire
That's a good
email address or whatever?
Sure, that's a very good question, and I wish my CFO was here with me. And if you have a business card, I can email you that information.
Just ask when you can start and when's this plan to launch?
Our prototype in the next month.
In the next couple months?
In the next month.
How do you market and find users or customers?
Currently, right now, we have over 30,000 email addresses, and those have come from past businesses.
You have what, I'm sorry?
30,000?
Email?
Correct, right now.
So you're just gonna start emailing people?
Our current deals.
Right.
Okay, and then we've got a huge presence on Facebook and also Twitter. So those are going to be our major sources, and we plan on advertising through there.
Okay.
So you mentioned that there is a specific minimum number of customers that need to buy a specific deal for that deal to kick in, right?
Correct.
So if that deal doesn't kick in, what's in it for you and what's in it for the merchant?
Well, nothing.
Okay.
No money lost, no money gained. And they can try to deal again if they want in the future.
Okay.
Maybe different price points, maybe different, you know.
So you still get your cut?
No. No one gets charged until that deal actually gets activated. So
okay.
Regango doesn't make any money, merchants don't make any money, and customers don't lose money.
You guys want to ask some questions, feel free to go on. You see 2 minutes early, I gave you 2 minutes for more questions. Okay. So we got Jerry here from Loving Technologies. Actually, I first met, I don't think I met Jerry, but I met colleagues at the TEDx Detroit last year. And just the idea of it, I kind of correlated to Sim City, Detroit. But I'll let him tell you a little bit more of what their idea is. So basically, you know, one of the things I just wanted to mention about Jerry said, I guess the vision is that we want to have an online version of Detroit that people can reach through understanding and making things happen in the real world, and pretty much try to help out the city at the same time. So give it up to Jerry.
Has anybody here heard of the work that we've done before? So I know we've kind of kicked around the block, kind of like Detroit, punk rock, internet startup style for like the last couple of years. Yeah, we're called Loveland. We started about 2 years ago in the micro real estate business, which is basically we bought a couple of vacant lots at auction, and we gave people a chance to invest in them at $1 per square inch. It's kind of like buying like real/virtual land, a little bit like maybe like Farmville, kind of mixed with real life, mixed with Dungeons and Dragons, I don't know, something. A challenging experience. This is the best we've kind of got our tagline down to. If you want to think about us, what we do with our spaces, it's interactive city mapping and crowdfunding. So it is like SimCity Detroit. It's like putting the city online, and then we want to show stuff, and we got want to give people stuff they can interact with. So like I said, when we started, this was our first investment. This is 3 by 3 feet on the floor of our studio at the Russell Industrial Center, and that represents a $1,000 investment that someone put into the project. And we used that to make our first experience, which is we would send you a square-inch golden deed and magnifying glass and like a postcard from your property. And then really importantly, this is where the technology eventually grows from, is when you invest, you can log into your microhood, which is essentially an online representation of your tiny little property. So all this colorful quilt, those are all different investments of different sizes. And if this is the website, you can kind of mouse around on top and see who it is that owns it. You can click through and they can say what they want to do with their space. And people tell all sorts of fun stories. Like, this is where I built my robot factory to like rebuild Detroit, like right here. And it corresponds to physical space. You know, so we went through this auction process, and it was basically we were trying to figure out ways to put the city online, and then figure out ways. An initial thought was like, how do you take land that people are not valuing very highly in the marketplace, and then figure out a way to make it something that's positive and exciting and can generate maybe a little value, like think totally differently. So this $500 lot, we bought the first one, we sold 10,000 square inches in about 4 months, and then we did it again with another property slightly bigger. And along the way, we realized we were making this really cool social network for space, like a social network for like geography. And we were building payment systems so you could put money into the property to buy stuff. And then I guess there was this kind of natural realization partway through that there's really no difference between an inch in a house or a city block or a microhood in a neighborhood except scale. So we started taking like real life information about the city, real life neighborhood boundaries and land parcels, and just injecting that into our social mapping framework. And we've gone through a number of theme and variations and fun projects, but the one that we're really focused on right now, I think it's a really important one, and hopefully it's something that showcases the importance of the kind of work that we're doing. It's called Why Don't We Own This? And this is all centered on the Wayne County tax foreclosure auction, which is happening at the end of this month. It was actually a round that happened a couple weeks ago, but in 2 weeks there's going to be 13,000 properties in Detroit for auction starting at a $500 opening bid. And if you try to figure out where these properties are or what's going on with them otherwise, you basically encounter just like a really long PDF list on the county site. And so there's no way to be able to go to your neighborhood and see what's going on, and there's no way to talk about properties and ask questions or anything like that. So we're trying to solve this kind of a problem. What happens here is if you click on the zip, you drill down to an overview. All these green dots represent properties that are up for auction, all categorized by geography. You can zoom in with a list of what's going on by street. And if you click on a property, you go down to an interactive parcel map. It'll give you like total lay of the land, like exactly where the parcel is, what the addresses and parcels are around it, Google Street View. And this is a property for sale for $500 that's like 2 or 3 blocks away from here. I just drilled down. This is the zip code we're in, by the way. I don't know if you expect that in 4202, but there's a lot of stuff going on here that's normally invisible. And along with the visual representation, we try to pull as much data as we can from city sources as possible. Some of the stuff's kind of hard to come by. We have friends at Data-Driven Detroit who are friendly sometimes and kind of giving us additional information. And then we've also built it out so you can talk about properties and stuff. You know, if you have a question or an idea for it. You know, every story under the sun basically in an auction like this. Like we've had people who have been living in the houses that are for auction. We use this and be like, hey, you know, and then they have a chance to let people know, and that's important in the process. Because sometimes people want to buy stuff to speculate, and sometimes they'll say, looks like there's something going on in this neighborhood, maybe we can help out rather than, you know, just try to purchase it. And some interesting comments into this one. We had we've had some serious comments and some really funny ones. The funny one we got the other day, went around one of the auction and somebody commented, they were like, the dude who bought this got lucky, I hit the bottle that night. I guess he got drunk and didn't bid properly, which is pretty interesting. But we also, we've got a little bot army that scours the auction website. The county uses this system called Bid for Assets, which is just kind of like an old school, like, you know, non-visual, very text-based, no like dashboard of what's happening in the auction system. So we've been scouring it and pulling out in real time as things get sold. So at the last auction, properties went up for sale for their last years of back taxes, and properties go up for 3 days at a time. And we're able to show all those things kind of happening in real time. So you can kind of tune into the auction and jump into it effective if you want to. This was the leaderboard of who all was buying stuff in the last auction. And you find all sorts of interesting things when you make these land use issues kind of transparent. Like I just thought this was interesting. I wrote to them, I didn't hear anything back yet, but it looks like the biggest buyer at the auction was the Detroit Land Bank Authority, which is, they bought, but the properties they bought seemed kind of weird. It was 11 houses in way northeast, and for $200,000 you could buy 400 properties at the next auction. So it was just kind of interesting to see, you know, kind of follow the trail of like, is it people from neighborhoods buying things? What's the city doing? What are we doing? And we're also, one last,
Go ahead.
we're partnering with a friend of ours to also give an avenue for people that want to bid at the auction but aren't registered or can't pay the deposit, and also for people that want to crowdfund properties that don't get bid on. We set up this site at landblank.org where you can call us or write to us, and if you want to bid, we'll do like a proxy bid for you, and then like quick claim the deed over. Or you can put money into a pool and we'll buy properties that don't get bought, and then we'll put them out, advertise them, and try to find like the best neighborhood use for them. So kind of like a new school reimagining of a land bank. And yeah.
So there's questions. Go ahead, guys. Go.
So that last point where you said that you buy up pools of property and try to find the best use of them, is that what kind of uses, and is it designed to get a return for the people who fund it, or just purely
not
cultural
really,
use?
Like minimal markup. So if the properties cost $500, we'll only bid on ones that don't have any other bids either, because the goal isn't to like make anybody pay more, you know what I mean, or like only stuff that's going to get washed back out to sea, so to speak. Of the 13,000 properties, if like previous years trends hold, it'll be around 8,000 properties that don't get any bids at all, which means they'll just go back to the county. So this is a way to like begin experimenting with, again, kind of like we approach these things with like a child's mind, I would say. You know, you have an issue that has so much complexity, and like the only way you can approach it is just to go out and like do it over from the start. So it's really just some people with good intentions, you know, gathering a pool to bid on these properties and then advertising them and count them, and then moving forward with the mission of trying to find the most locally beneficial use. And that might mean turning it over to a neighbor afterwards, it might mean turning it over to a community group, it might mean turning it over to a project, if after a while, like looking, that's the best, you know, find the best option. Yeah.
I'm sorry, but how do you determine, like, do you determine what happens to the property, or do the people determine what happens to the property? Like you said, turn it over to the neighbor. Are you the one saying, are we gonna give it to them, or is it like a voting thing? Do people email you? How does that work?
I guess, you know, I guess at the end of the day, it's us, you know what I mean? But we try to work like a Ouija board with these things, you know? Do you know what I mean? Like the best that you can, where it's like you gotta have, we don't just want to put like whatever people vote on, because people vote for crazy things and like whatever, you know? We just are kind of trusting ourselves and being open enough that hopefully people would give good ideas and then agree that it was a good thing that got done with it. Does that make sense?
Are you a nonprofit or?
No, we're a for-profit company that acts like a nonprofit sometimes, just because like we're definitely not afraid to approach opportunities that are really important, or feel important, or otherwise being looked over by the market for whatever reason. And mostly through patronage of like crowdfunding ourselves and patronage. And we have a really great angel investor who's just, you know, some support that doesn't, probably not gonna let us die out as long as, you know, he sees what we're going after. But I guess our hope with it is, I mean, I'm like a Silicon Valley refugee. I mean, I've lived in Detroit the last 3 years now, and I've gone through like the regular San Francisco, New York tech startup stuff, and I've had some pretty poor experiences with like Valley VC kings. Just not like creativity destroying kind of stuff, it felt like, where it was like you get put into the system and you get pushed through certain kind of ROI channels or acquisition channels, where it's like, you know, we got to groom you so that Facebook buys you as a future, like type thing. So we all kind of threw out that equation, you know, wanted to get to work in Detroit. I mean, it's a city that really needs to be online and is like so very offline right now that it's like we're approaching it like it's a big opportunity, but it's also coming from a place of like doing a good thing and then kind of hopefully having faith that in the future, like we'll get contracted or we'll be able to expand this to other cities or whatever it is. But
so it's not for profit or definitely not nonprofit, and you're not, as long as you have a runway to work with from your investor or from what you bootstrap, you're just going to keep kind of going along for the better of the community and not for.
We're investable in, but we're very picky about our investors on stuff, because I never want to show up to another board meeting again where like, you know, like, guess what?
So you're just,
yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So how do you make money?
We do client work sometimes, so like any kind of, I didn't focus on the crowdfunding stuff we do, but we also build crowdfunding tools, and we've had some success. Like my friends and I, you know, probably the most famous one we did was we put up the RoboCop statue fundraising that just like went totally crazy. We've also, that's like what we did. We've done, in the last 2 years, we've done about $150,000 in crowdfunding for a variety of different kinds of projects. You don't usually hear about the more traditionally, you know, socially beneficial projects. We have a patronage model, and you know, again, it's investment. So people tend to like what we do, and people like what they do. They tend not to let you die, and that's good for us because we're not trying to buy Ferraris. We're just trying to increase the quality of our work and stay trustworthy too.
Last question, anybody? All right. Are you
looking at any low-hanging fruit and helping to fund these things like flipping properties that you find through these systems that other people overlook? And is there a risk that you're looking at with when you do have these properties that if you're looking to move them out to someone else, are you at risk if someone hurts themselves on that property, or are you going to have access to that if you're stuck with it?
Internet is risky business. No, I don't know. I mean, we have lots of, you know, potentially sustainable, scalable business model ideas, but we're really trying to feel it out, because we all feel like, you know, it's like when you're an entrepreneur, sometimes you go after little opportunities, but then sometimes like you move into spaces. Do you know what I mean? And this feels like a good space. So like in this space, we're kind of like middling, like, you know, some nourishing capital in here, you know, and we find a little more in here. But I would love to talk about more ideas like that. I guess I got to be off stage right now, but thanks guys for listening.
Appreciate that. Okay, our last presenter, Jacob, of the evening with Raptor City. And basically after that, we'll do recording. I want to make sure that
So is it okay if I do my own human clicker?
Go ahead. You want to go ahead? Go ahead. So you got a lot of ideas to say about, you know. Well, anyway, Jacob, he's actually was born and raised in Detroit, so we actually have a real Detroiter here. Apparently went out to, he left Detroit, you said?
Yeah.
And then he came back, so apparently got some, I guess, some real life experience, and then came back to Detroit. So he's going to show us what he had done, what he's going to do.
I'm Robert Jackson, I'm Vice President. I actually left too. I did military for 10 years, came back. We've known each other since. So after I came back from a deployment, we hooked up, and that's where we at now.
He didn't share that with me, so I can share that with you. Okay. You ready?
Hello everybody, my name is Jacob Rayford. I'm the founder of rebroadcast.com. And I want to ask you a question that most of you probably heard before. Where are you from? I'm from Detroit. I told you I'm born and raised here. But what happens when negative media destroys the hope of your city? As you said, I was going away for a couple years for work. I was doing electrical engineering and everything like that, more stuff. But there was people that asked me, when they asked me where I'm from, I said Detroit. It's a look that I get. You know what I mean? And why is that? Because of negative media. It destroyed the hope. It's destroying communities. It's destroying jobs. And think about our youth. What happens when you go talk to a middle school student and say, like, you know what I mean, what do you want to do? I mean, the first thing that they say, like, I want to leave Detroit. Because there's nothing for me here. There's no opportunity. There's no jobs. And to me, to hear that from a young person, I mean, seeing it from my point of view, seeing it from the inside and outside, that kind of killed my soul. Like, there's so much happening here, but they're just not exposed to it because of this negative media. So, rebroadcast.com is here to provide a solution for that problem. A lot of times we hear about great things that are happening, but it's not pushed out on a grand scale. It's not getting enough exposure. There's not a lot of people that know about it. So our goal with rebroadcast.com is to provide a website, social news site that's going to aggregate all this information from the community. We're not stopping people from using Facebook or Twitter or anything like that. But when you find good news or anything like that, bring it to one place. So we're going to, if anybody wants to know about what's happening in Detroit, they can come to rebroadcast.com, click Detroit, and see all this stuff that the community is talking about. Hey, it's this, it's that. It's this local restaurant, there's this other event going on, it's performances, it's opportunity for jobs, opportunity for youth, things of that nature. And we're really imploring the community to see what's going on and go out and do it. Not just, you know what I mean, just witness stuff or stay on our site and play Farmville or anything like that. But we really want to implore people. We have a mantra that we use, it's called Rev it, do it, use it. So I'm going to try to get y'all to say it. Rev it, do it, use it. And basically the Rev it part, share that information. You see good news, things that happen in the community, bring it to rebroadcast.com so everybody can see it. So not just your friends on Facebook or people that you follow on Twitter, but everybody. Anybody want to know about Detroit or you yourself? Like I said, we want you to do it. Come on there, find out what's going on, and go out and do it. That's volunteering or
attending a local band show, supporting a local restaurant. Use it. Use what? We have a reputation system that's going to be, it's a point system that's, you add up by the stuff that you do on our website and offline as well. And these points are going to be redeemable for local products and services. So it's a way for businesses to kind of get back to, saying, hey, I see you doing things in the community, that's great. You know what I mean? And provide a discount for their product or service. That way you're supporting local businesses and stuff like that as well. We did a little chart about our strengths and weaknesses. To there. One of our strengths is that a competitor will be similar to Direc or Reddit. Like I said, it's a social news website. But our niche is positive news. We only want to shine light on the positive things that are happening in the community. And and then, like I said, it's really focused on the community and community driven. And one thing that's really going to set us apart as a social network or a social news site is that you'll never see Dig, you'll never see Facebook out in the community doing things. You'll never see them cleaning up the park down the street from your house. You'll never see them supporting a local band or, exposing these things and being a part of the grassroots efforts that are happening in our community. We want to be that. Rep Your City, you will see us out and about. We have already. We haven't launched yet. We're launching in November. But we've already been heavily networking in the community. Social media events, there. TEDx Detroit, see the shirt on, it's there. Different, cleaning up in the community, supporting local talent, and even speaking to our youth and empowering them by letting them know, hey, there's great stuff happening here. You need to be a part of it. There's things happening, here's how you can. And we also do youth roundtables, which we'll be starting back up in October, that are geared towards letting youth know that they do have a voice. And hear these solutions to the problems from their viewpoint, and getting those in front of people that they, that will be able to let them know what they can do now and what's being worked on right now and how you can be impactful in your community. Then our weaknesses are we don't have funding right now, so that affects acquiring talent. We need developers and a marketing team and stuff like that as well. And lack of startup experience. I did join Startup Weekend in Ann Arbor, so I was part of a startup, so that was great to get that experience, and they did get funded as well.
Can we get two more? We just got two more, just the threats and then the opportunities. Real quick.
Oh yeah, that's threats. Of course, like that with funding. If we get a lot of people on the site, we have issues with as far as affording the space necessary to handle that. And then, of course, hacking and viruses as well. And then the opportunities right here in Detroit. No better place in the world to really prove this concept than right here in Detroit. If we can show how we've impacted bringing back hope again in the city, we can do that in other cities. So our motto is really to build a foundation here in Detroit first and then duplicate in other cities. So about 5 different cities we want to reach out to by 2013.
Let's go ahead and start with the questions.
What's the revenue model?
Revenue model, advertising, of course, on the website. We also want to gear towards government funding because there's a budget for tourism and, like, for example, Pure Michigan. Those are things that we want to get involved with as far as helping increase the tourism value in different cities. And also as far as working with corporate responsibility, corporate social responsibility that companies have that they want to shine a positive light in their community.
Sorry. Okay, so the idea is like nice, but as far as user-generated content, right? That's what we're talking about here. How do you filter between negative sentiment, positive sentiment? Is that technology? Are you the ones that are judging what's considered positive?
We'll have a team that will be actually linked together that will actually be on the site, actually monitoring. But at the end of the day, it's on the people. It's on the people. We're giving that power back to you because that's what we promote on a day-to-day basis, positivity. So, and that's how, if you've ever been on Reddit or if you've ever been on Dig, it's a system of how it works. So if it's positive, you're going to see more about it. It works the same way as Facebook with the like button. So if you see a whole bunch of people repping it, you see a lot of people doing it, that's going to be sponsored. You're going to see that more and more throughout the site. So the people, we're giving the power back to you. We want you to be able to come on there, whether it's you cooking a bake sale on the neighborhood block, or if it's something downtown in the Park Plaza, a major event, and it has it's in the same forum, and people will be able to see exactly what's going on.
So is there enough constant flow of content for that?
I can show you 50,000 emails in my box for that. But we also have another thing that's really going to set us apart is a town hall feature that we're going to have on our site to talk about problems and the solution to those problems. And we have a database as far as getting that together as well.
So like I was taking a look at like kind of every block. Like local personalized, kind of interesting, stuff like that. It just kind of reminded me a little bit of that. Like how you see that fitting up.
Wherever block, I signed up for that service too, and the only thing that I get is crime rating. I mean, stuff that's happening in the news. So it's not really, where they haven't picked up as far as, people contributing to the news as far as that site, but they're pulling in from media, which is part of the problem in the first place. So it's mostly negative media in that aspect. But unlike like a social network, like I said, we're a social aggregator. So it can be, say that if we only got 10 people on the site and they're crazy contributing, the site still has value versus if I have to have 50 of my friends on there in order for it to be effective. Like, so at the end of the day, our site will still be effective just based on 10 crazy, people that
care about the city.
How are you gonna build this?
How are we building it?
Yeah.
Right now, we have 2 developers that are in Houston right now, but they're using Java, CSS, things like that. Pretty much the same kind of concept as Dig, Red.
Yeah, so do you think it's the site's gonna work a lot like Dig? Not like Dig, like Reddit?
Similar. Like I said, the avenue, as far as advertising, we're still working that out as far as, because Dig and Reddit have 2 different advertising models.
Right. So have you guys looked at using the Reddit open source project to basically jumpstart your development?
No, we're actually crafting that with our developers as far as ourselves. But we're also going to be working with another startup out of Michigan as far as badges and challenges and stuff.
So assuming that you're going to moderate all the content on the website to make sure that only the positive stuff makes it to the web pages or to be shared, how do you plan to overcome the challenges like scalability and having it real time?
Right now, like I said, the major part is going to be community police, as far as like the same as other networks as well. But there may be, we're talking about possibly doing a delay type of thing, but that's something that we're working out. But also, as far as scalability, we're starting right now in Detroit, and we're going to build a foundation here first, and then we're going to another city. And the major thing that how we're going to do that is by being involved in those communities, getting the team out there. Say for example, Chicago is next, and we develop a team there to get the grassroots effort going to promote the news on the site.
Okay, guys. I think you guys went over time. You guys stick around. So just guys, if I can give it up to. I don't know if you heard the bad news. I just got texted by Oliver that Steve Jobs has passed away. So
really?
Not like a big deal. We have to put a good person here. Anyway, this one share that news. Yeah, devastated. Anyways, with things like that, too bad. On the day that they released I would also want to give Scott an opportunity. Scott really got something to say. He's got actually an application while he's doing that. I'm going to pull up the voting system up, but we actually came up with this idea because there's so many, we got over 450 members now. We're growing every day. We thought there has to be useful for this group. There has to be used for all of networking and using this as a resource. And Scott came up, we kind of talked about this, but I think Scott is the executor, so I'm going to let him talk about why I'm going to pull up the voting system.
So Ken and I were talking to DNewTech October, and just kind of how startups like frequently I'll come in here, others will come in here and make announcements about jobs and things like that. And how startups locally are hiring. It's MichiganStartupJobs.com. So we were just kind of talking, and we were like, what if we had a single place to go where any startup in Michigan could come and post positions and just make it super easy. You just sign up. There's a single approval process once you post your first job, goes into moderation, and after that you can post as many as you want. So it's just kind of a really simple service, just set up, and you know, if you need any more categories or any more cities added, you know, just send me a note. The contact information is right on the page. You know, it's just kind of a site put together so we can better promote, you know, startup opportunities here and kind of show that Detroit does have, you know, a lot of things going on. It does have a reason for people here to stay, for people to return.
And I want to just also add on that it was the idea was basically moved from that you know we all talk about what we're looking for with the capital we're raising and the resources we're looking for. This is just another tool that we can use for local startups, especially just focusing on hopefully Michigan. But just take a look at it. You know, we're going to start putting this on our adding jobs of this not for our company, but hopefully with all the companies have presented at our DNewTech.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, just the last thing I would add is, I mean, again, just kind of showing, you know, the world and the state where real job growth comes from, right? I mean, it's not necessarily going to come from larger corporations and entities that are kind of cutting down and scaling down at times. It's going to come from these small organizations that are growing and building jobs, going from 0 employees to like 30 in like less than 2 years, you know, at that time.
Okay.
Great. Yeah, feel free to use the site, and it's free, and it's there.
Okay, we're gonna vote right now, you guys. So basically, just vote for your. Remember, I'm gonna run down the companies that were presented. We got. We're not including Pavan. We know we already wanted people on the list, but we're gonna just let the entrepreneurs have an opportunity. And it's really no reward, just just ego. We got Alex and Chase from Fetch Notes. We got Albert with Clean Fluids, Clark with Rebroadcast, Jerry with Loveland, and Rep Your City. And we want to put it at 411669. As you do that, I'm going to pull up the link. And you usually told me the link. I got to make sure I got the right links here.
When you do text,
just text to 411669, and then out of the 5, just put in DMT1, DMT2, DMT3, or 4.
Do you have an area code?
411669. I know I got a couple ones. Nobody. It's just on the website.
411.
Must be
669.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, was it Hans is usually running the
No.
Wait, so what's the number?
I think it's 41166.
411669.
411-669. That's where you text to, and then you put something in the subject.
411-669, sir?
Yeah. It's kind of a thing. Todd, what's the number again?
It's you can only vote once for yourself.
I
but it's,
have not voted.
We are 411669.
It said I mistyped the keyword. Is there a keyword?
I apologize.
Yeah, same here.
Like I said, it's usually Hans is the one who's actually doing it. Here we go.
I just voted for Regano.
So we can see it real time. Basically, the number that you want to text to is 411669, which is 411669, and then you take one of it.
411669?
Yep.
Oh,
669. My English is bad, it's not that bad.
Just sign one of these, right?
Yep. actually takes you to a website, but I'm really doing injustice for,
Yeah, where's that?
Yeah, I think you need more venture capitalists.
you guys are killing me, man. It's,
I've seen it work.
I just like it doesn't work.
Okay, these are the people who asked me last month. Hey guys, I apologize again, I'll have to ask Hans what the actual website is. Because it's supposed to come up live. You're supposed to see a window, and it's supposed to come up live. I just don't know the actual website. Where?
So did you guys do servers? Did you say you do server plans?
Yeah, we got those. So we,
Let's keep somebody from coming and stealing all our code.
Where's that?
Either or.
we'll notify you guys when you're at DNewTech on the website.
I know you.
Hey, before we go, does anyone have any one of the last things we want to do as the wrap up is there any activities or events that's going on in the next 1 month? We know that,
You have to.
does anybody know any other tips? You guys want to share anything? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Those of you that are interested, next Tuesday, how many people heard Automation Alley? Automation Alley, you look at the website, next Tuesday there will be 5 really distinguished speakers to talk about cloud computing. I'm one of them. Greg Frazier. And I'll give you the details. That's next Tuesday, October the 11th from 8:30 to 12 noon. And just check the Automation Alley website. Oh yeah, it's $30 if you, no it's not free, it's like no more than $40. If you remember, it's $20.
And I think, what about accelerated Michigan? I think that's in November, right? Or is it in October? I think that's November 14th and 15th. That's, and then we also have Music Bio out in Grand Rapids. That's coming up in November 2nd. And then, what? That's 100% for Clean Michigan.
We'll take it.
So one vote, man.
Well, how was it? One vote? One vote.
So what can you do with it?
The Libyan model.
You can make apps.
Can we want to do one more time, 411-669, but put percent in. Put your percent in.
What?
Technology is breaking.
Yeah. Okay, try again, come on. Nobody vote for Oliver.
One for everybody else.
How do you connect to like a back end?
So we actually use like the modern browser.
Did it work?
It has a local basis or the browser. So we store information both. And then we have an
Oh, it's a raise, we got love and 50%.
So it just calls the API with JavaScript. All kinds of stuff. Look at that.
But packaged into a native shell.
Thank you.
I promise you I didn't know myself.
It'll be the same page.
Okay, guys, I think, yeah, this is really close, man. But thanks, guys. Thanks for everyone for presenting. Next month, we probably won't have it the first Wednesday of the month. We're going to probably have it during the Global Entrepreneurial Week, which is going to be November 15th. You'll get more news on that, all right? So enjoy the evening, and we'll see you guys next time.
Yes. Let's say your